If you just took the APUSH exam and you're curious about your answers to the questions, go ahead and stay tuned. I've got you covered. We're looking at Set 2 SAQ 3, so if this question looks familiar to you, this is the one we're going to chat about. You had a choice between questions 3 and 4, which was either government policies or economic policies. We're going to go through the government policies first. Now, question 3, hoofta. This was broad. I have a feeling that this one was hard for students to answer simply because of how broad the question was. So for part A, all you had to address was one government policy from 1783 to 1840. So there are so many here you could have addressed. I just tried to think of maybe some of the largest ones that you may have considered, like the Northwest Ordinance, the Alien and Sedition Acts, the Embargo Act, the Missouri Compromise, the Indian Removal Act. There are so many more, but the key thing is that you just identified and described a policy for part A. For part B, you could choose a similarity or a difference in how two groups responded to political changes. So I'm guessing most of you chose political parties. So you could have focused on the Federalists or the Democratic Republicans. You could have focused on the Whigs and the Democrats. But those are probably a common way that students responded. And then there's also the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists with the ratification of the Constitution. That could have been a good comparison as well. You could be a little more broad and talk about Northerners versus Southerners, rural versus urban, abolitionists versus pro-slavery advocates. You could have also broken it down by demographics and talked about women or American Indians or African Americans. So there's just such a huge variety of groups here. It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what you could have done here. But the key here is that you describe both groups and how they responded to a political change. Part C is also general in describing how a development contributed to regional divisions, but the time period is quite limited. It's only 20 years, 1840 to 1860. So probably some of the most common things that I would guess students wrote about are going to be the Mexican-American War, the Compromise of 1850, the Free Soil Movement. If you talked about how there was a proliferation of abolitionist sentiments, narratives, publications, that could have been good. The formation of the Republican Party. Again, there's a lot of things that work here, but need to be within that specific time period of 1840 to 1860. There's my 2 cents on SAQ 3 from Set 2. Go ahead and comment below what evidence you included and if you have any questions about this question.